Thank you for coming, everyone. This is our first how-to in our professional development series. And so we want to start having this series on a regular basis to kind of teach you guys the skills that maybe you're not necessarily formally hearing about, but are really important. And so for our first one, we have how to design a scientific poster. And the idea is that we have the symposium coming up, and then also posters are a very important part of science, as you'll hear about. And so we're really lucky because Fereshteh is here from Dr. David Arnold's lab, and she's got great experience in poster design. She presented at the Society for Neuroscience conference, which is actually the biggest conference in the world, and there was over 25,000 people there, so she did a great job there. And she put together a great presentation for us. Yeah, and then also if you are a NextGen trainee, I'm Shirley Emerson, and if you ever need something for putting a proposal together, please let me know. That's what my job is. It's here to help you guys. And I actually have to run to go pick someone up from the airport, but I'm leaving you in very capable hands, so please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Charlene, for your kind introduction. So, as Charlene was explaining, this is the first session of Professional Development How-To series, which is, the first part is about designing a scientific poster, and the reason is that next month we have the NextGen Pathway Symposium, and probably it would be a good idea to go through some tips and information about how to make a good scientific poster. And most of you probably have more experience than me, but I tried to gather information from different websites, and like university websites, and also some NIH, and a couple of articles that they had some critiques about why these posters are poorly designed, or what poster can be considered as a good poster. First of all, most of the scientists and researchers think that the poster is a kind of inferior version of a paper or oral presentation, which is not fair and not true, actually, because posters are a unique tool that can give us the opportunity to convey our information about the work that we are doing very easily and like in a very quick way possible. And one of the features that scientific poster can give the science society, or can give all of us, is to present our research in a quickest way, because it has a visual communication. It means that we can, like with adding pictures, photos, or figures, we can have this convey of information faster. We can have the key information and also promote the discussion. This is one of the things that we want always in the research society, to promote the discussion, having the collaboration and networking, and also for people who are attending the poster session, the audiences, they can have the latest research updates, which is very useful for all of us. The other thing is that at this point, what can make a poster very effective? One of the fact is to have a poster, it means that we should talk about the details less than a paper and more than an oral presentation. We don't want to have a lot of details, but enough to convey all of the parts of our work that we want to communicate with the other people. So before key findings, we just want to briefly talk about the overview of our methods that we are using. Again, no too much detail, because if we give a lot of detail, sometimes people are not from the same background, and they will have some hard time to understand what we are talking about. If they have questions, they always can ask. And keeping the key findings around 2 to 3 main subjects, it would be useful. It's true that probably we are working more than those 2 to 3 key findings, but it's better having a focus for our study, for our poster, just to make it simpler. And to keep it simple, we can use the text bullet formats and also charts that makes it easier for us to present. Overall, having too much details or using a lot of technical words or jargony would be very difficult for people to follow us, and probably they are not interested anymore in our poster. So we should keep in mind that who is our audience too. So what makes a good poster then? First of all, the first step is a short title, because the title is the thing that we want to grab the attention of people. If it's a long title, they don't care about like the poster, because they say that, oh, it's too much word, I don't have time for this poster. So it's better to just keep it short. And also, imagine that you have your poster and it's so crowded because you are so popular, and then a lot of people are around and some people are away from your poster. So it's better to keep the key finding large enough for other people that at least are 10 feet away from your poster. That's another point. And also it's recommended that 300 to 800 words count we should keep for our poster, because more than that it would be too much detail. That's not necessary. Bullet numbering and headlines can help us to have a better presenting our data, because it's easier with bullet formats. I'm repeating myself for bullet formats because I saw a lot of posters that have too much words and a lot of texts that is sometimes overwhelming. So these features can help us to get better poster. Effective graphics, colors and fonts also can help us, and keep the layout consistent is another thing that we can give the professional look to our poster. And the last but not least is the acknowledgement and references. It's most of the time people forget about that, but it's really important to acknowledge people who are helping us or who are involved with our project. Now that we talked about what are the points that we can use, there are some big no-nos that critics and reviewers, they mention that usually it's better to avoid in order to have an effective poster. The first thing is having a noisy background. The distractive background just focus the attention of your audience toward the background, so they don't pay attention to your key findings. So it's better to get rid of any distraction. The other thing, again, is about the title. As I said, it just grabs the attention of your audience, so it's better to use less than 2 lines always when you have the title. Another thing is information overload. As I said, that too much details is not recommended at all. It's again the same for the number of illustrations. It's better to keep it in moderation always. And again, too much details. The other thing that I want to emphasize is not having a reference part. As we all know, in the science society, not having a reference is not recommended at all, and people don't think of our work a very, rigid, and also it's not very welcome not to have any reference, because people cannot trust us. And it's better if we have any references, we just add it in the end, even 1 or 2, but it's really recommended to use. So now that we know good and bad thing about the posters, I want to show you some samples of posters, and we can go through it. What do you think, if you think it's like a good poster or not? The first example is this one. If you have any idea that, what do you think, what's your idea about this poster? Do you think it's a good one or bad one? Don't want to say bad, like less professional, let's say. Yeah, that's one point. That's a good point, actually, the first point. The font size is not consistent, actually. Like in the headline, probably it's easy to see the title, but here the font size is really, really small, and you cannot read it very well. What's other point? You have some point you want to say? Yeah.
Too many words in introduction.
Exactly. This is the other one. Yeah. It's big chunk of words and like text that can give you, like, some people get panic like me. I don't want to see these much words because I'm not in that work, so probably I don't understand even. It's better to have it like a bullet format, so it's easier. Later on, I will show you some revised version, and that's easier. Is there any other point, or I can go on? Do you have any? No? Okay. So the other thing is that it doesn't have a logical flow. So we don't know which way. Do you see? You don't see it? Do you see it? Yeah, it's this one. So we don't know which way to go, to the right or to the bottom. Where should we go? Probably both ways true. Probably in this way, either way you read is correct. But people get confused and then they just give up and go to the next poster. Overall, I think that this poster had a kind of disorganized look. It's better to have different sections for everything that you are talking. Okay, so we're going to the next one. What do you think about this one? Probably it looks a little bit better, but there are points that too much details. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that's a good point. They could have some charts or some figures to make it a little bit like easier to understand. Yeah, that's a good point. What else do you see? No reference, that's a good point. Yeah, that's really important. Actually, I will show you with later on. Yeah, not having a reference is a big no-no. So one of the things is the alignment of the section titles. Some of them are aligned in the middle, some others are aligned in the left. There is no best way which one is good or bad, but it's good to just stick to one type. Either it's in the left or in the middle. The other thing is about the space between the middle section. So the middle section is not centered very well. We have more space in the left than in the right. That's another thing about the alignment and the caption for the figures. For the figures, usually the captions should be written in the bottom. That's one of the things. And also there are some figures that don't even have a caption. And as you say, sorry, this part I forgot. So this is about having the 3D format for like the picture that you're using, because it usually doesn't show very well in the poster, in the big print that you have. It's better to have a 2D version, getting rid of all the shadows and everything that's distracting. That would be helpful. And as you said, the reference. It doesn't have reference. So the next one, actually, for me, it's a kind of chaos. I don't know. What do you think about this one? And for me, like, it has another smaller poster inside, if you see. Like, it's too much details, a lot of information. Probably they had a great job, and they wanted to have everything together in this poster, but it's just too much information that people cannot handle sometimes. And also the noisy background is the first thing. It's just getting the attention away from people, so they just think about what is that blue color, like is that an ocean or something? So it's better to just keep it very simple. I have another interesting example, this one. This is just me, for me personally, I need a chair for this, because I should sit in front and read it, because it doesn't have, probably it has a lot of good information, but it's better to follow having some chart, figures. Definitely they could do a better job with the bullet formats. That would be very interesting to change it. And most of them I showed you, they didn't have the reference part also. I have another interesting thing too, but help me with this one. What do you think, really, with this one? This is fonts are too small, and the color. Yeah, the color. We need sunglasses for this one, because this one actually the contrast is awful. You cannot see the color in the print. Actually, here is good, but with the print, you don't have a good contrast between the text and also the whole background. First of all, the background shouldn't have this kind of bright color again. It's not looking very well. And the photos, the pictures that they are using, it's all over. It's another thing that we can consider. But finally, we have a little bit much better one. So why I say it's better? Because first of all, it has a simple background, and also they used a good color for text, and also it has a good contrast. They explain the kind of bullet formats and charts. There are some 3 different sections that are allocated. Overall, it looks good and it doesn't make you feel so again, but it doesn't have the reference. That's another issue. It was better than the others. This one also, they use the 2D version of a graph, and also everything is in 3 different sections. They use the good background for the color. Overall, it looks good. So now that we know about all these good and bad examples, I want to go through the steps to prepare the poster. The first step is about the size of the board that are provided for us. One of the important things before starting our design, is to just consider what's the board size for that specific event or for that specific symposium that we are going. It's really recommended. I learned a hard lesson. I was making my poster, and then in the end I understood that the size is completely different, so I had to redo all the design again. That's not a good idea, so I will update you with this NextGen Pathway Symposium. I'll have a slide just for that. So what's the good size for our symposium? The next step is about knowing our audience. So who is coming to your poster? It makes a big difference, because then you know if you want to have too much details, a little bit of detail, because if people know about whatever you are talking about, but probably you need more details, then later they have more questions. And one of the rules is that you've got just 3 seconds to grab the attention of people. And that's mostly based on your title. If your title is attracting enough, so they can come and just see that what's going on in this poster. Then after that 3 seconds, you've got 30 seconds to secure the attention. But of course, if they stop in front of your poster. But in that case, that's mostly based on the finding. If you have your key findings very well designed and it's easy to understand for them, so they stay and they will ask you questions. The other step is having kind of 4 main sections for your poster. That is title, then introduction, material and method, very briefly material and method, and then result and conclusion, and not forgetting the reference for sure. The other step is just keeping the most important elements of the project. And by getting rid of excessive text, you can use just charts, graphs, and illustration. We always should remember that less is more, and bullet points can help us to keep everything more organized. And also the main title should be clear. As I said, I have an example for a long sentence that we can revise it in this kind of bullet formatting. So it's easier for us to just go through it, and for people who are for the first time are seeing your work, it's better to see it in this short version. The other point is about having the graphics and images. So we all know that images can be processed faster than text. But moderation in everything, not using all the poster with a lot of pictures. It's better to use 30 to 40% of our poster with the figures or graphs. And for sure, high resolution images are required. Sometimes using TIFF format for downloading your poster, it would be easier to keep the high resolution, because sometimes other formats, they make they will change the quality of your pictures. The other part is about cropping and enlarging the photos when you have. It's just to emphasize the part that you want to explain in order to get rid of all the details that you don't want to mention. This is a good strategy to use. So there are some principles for the layout that you can follow for having a better poster. The first thing is unity. It means that you choose the key question of your study and then make your poster around that key question and try to cluster all the similar objects together, and it makes a big difference. Contrast also is another thing that we should use it in a good way. For example, to emphasize some parts of our study, we can put a kind of box around that specific point that we want to mention, or make it choosing different colors, like with a good contrast for sure. The other point is consistency. What I mean about consistency here is about like having the same font size and the same font for the text that is inside the image and the text that's in the whole part of your poster. And also the open space. When you see that your poster doesn't have enough open space, it means that you are doing something wrong because you're talking a lot or there are too much details that you should probably be able to make some space in your free space in your poster. The last thing, it's not as important as the other parts, but it helps you to have a polished paper poster, and also it gives a kind of professional look to your poster. It's better to use alignment. So most of the time our eyes are so tired when we are making the poster because it's hours and hours we're spending time, hopefully. And if it's the case, we can use the grid line. The grid line can help us just be sure that that's the right place for that thing. For example, I've got this example for the title, for the alignment. So we've got like different alignment here, but that's more, it's looking more polished in the end. About color, there is one important thing that we can always consider. The first thing is consider that there are colorblind people. So it's always recommended to use colorblind safe colors. We shouldn't use whatever color that we want, because as Homo sapiens, we always want to find patterns and we want to know what's the point of using this color or that color. Again, it's talking about the focus of your audience. Keep it simple. You can use some harmonious color that can help you to make your poster more like easier to understand. And the subtle background that I just mentioned before. So yeah, the main point is just keep it simple. So here I just provided this. Since later on you will have all these slides, if you want, you can go through all of these. The reason that I put all these minor details is that while you want to make your poster, you can go and just make a refresh of knowing what's the size of different parts. Like title should be around 85 points. Then I'm not gonna repeat myself again. So this point I wanted to mention, as you remember the other poster I was showing you that one part was going to the right, the other was going to the bottom. So it's better always, it's recommended that using a logic of flow from left to right and top to bottom. This is the way that we are supposed to make our poster. For providing the context, the first thing is background. Briefly talking about the context of our study and then the goals, our goals and material and method should be very short and clear. If people have questions, they will ask you, and that's a good way to communicate and promote the discussion of your poster. That would be a good way. So always keep something that people want to ask you. That's a good strategy. Discussion and conclusion, and in the end, we will have the acknowledgement and references. So what kind of softwares that we can use to make our poster? The first and common thing most of the people use is the PowerPoint. The other things are Adobe. With Adobe, it gives you one of the most like a good feature that it can give you is to provide a press-ready PDF file. It means that it keep your the quality of the picture and the overall quality of your poster. It keeps it the same when you want to print it. So that makes a good difference. If you want to have it, it's always recommended. But Photoshop is recommended not to use because it brings some printing problems. The other thing that people use is biorender, but there is one thing about the biorender, because if you want to fully use this website, you should be you should have the premium version. But still, with the free version, it's good to use. You can have some features that it makes it easier for you to design your poster. The last part is just checklist. I'm not going through all these one by one. It's just later on you will have this part. But attracting your target audience, there are a couple of questions that you can ask. Like, for example, is the visual design appealing enough, or the poster title is clear or large enough or not? And for having, asking yourself if you are delivering the message or not. You can see that the subject is clear, the logical flow of the poster is that wasn't no problem. So is it good enough or not? And then for the last, I think it's the last one, creating the visual impact. Are you using the large enough graphics that it can make a good, when you have your final print, is it good in quality or not? And all other questions. So before having the final check, it's better to have your spell check for the poster. I personally do it 2 to 3 times, but it's also recommended to give it to another person that didn't see your poster before, because your eyes are kind of familiar with all the subject and everything that you wrote, and probably you take for granted some parts and you just skip it. It's better to ask another person to do the spell check for you too. And you also can use the zoom function, put it in the 100% zoom, and then go a little bit back, step back from your monitor and try to see if you see everything very well. Is the size, is the font size or the alignment looking good for you or not? And these were all my finding about how to design a good poster. Now, as I promised, I provided this information about our pathway symposium. So first of all, a quick reminder, it's a vertical poster. So it is, like Charlene asked me to say, that stick to 36 inches for the width. This is important because it's not bigger, so we don't want to have our poster that's not fit in the board. So that's one of the things. You can find all this information in our website, so it's all provided there. For the last thing, just designing the poster is not the only thing that we need to do. So it is important to have a good looking poster, but the other 50% is about the presenter. So how to properly present a poster is our next how-to session, which is on March 5th. And we'll be so happy if you could join us for the next one too. With that, I want to thank you all for being patient and listen to me, and I hope it's useful. If you have any question, I don't think, because it was so simple.
Any questions from the room? We'll move around with a microphone to capture your audio if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I hope it's a simple question, Joe. I'm ready for that anyway.
My question was, do you have any tips for attracting people's attention to your poster? Because I know you had a little slide there of people have a 3-minute attention span or whatever. Seconds, yeah. It's less than I thought. And because in the past when I presented posters, sometimes you have people shopping by and maybe standing there for a couple of seconds, and then you get excited, they're going to talk to you, and then they leave, right?
Yeah.
So is that something you would recommend to maybe, be active about inviting somebody over, or, just give people freedom of just leave if they want?
That's a really good point, because I don't know, I personally see first the person. If those people, some people just, they are hesitating to ask you a question or not. So I personally just go and say that if you have any question, I'm here to help you. That's actually a question for the next session more. But anyway, no, I think that it's a good idea to go and start talking, because we are there not just for our poster. It's just like promoting the discussion and having a collaboration. So it's better to talk. If some people don't, some people come there and you feel like they don't want to spend time. So I don't recommend just go there and say if you have any question. But some other people, yeah, you feel like they are here to ask you question, or they are struggling with some part. You can just mention that I can help you with this or that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Stick around for the sequel on Tuesday, March 5th, during the lunch hour, just like today. And we're also very interested in your suggestions for future programs in the Professional Development How-To series. So you can email nextgen@umsystem.edu to make those suggestions. We have things in mind like how to secure a letter of recommendation. So be thinking about that and reach out if you have ideas.
And if you are volunteer for presenting, and you are more than welcome, yeah, you can just send email to the group and then ask. That would be very nice. Thank you all.